Chapter 1. Evelyn was the wife left behind in the countryside by her college-bound husband. Her husband, Samuel, was the pride of their county, the top scorer in the entrance exam and the first in the area to make it to university. One day, however, he returned home with a gentle and refined woman, introducing her as a female classmate from university. This classmate saw Samuel's promising future and constantly slandered Evelyn in the countryside, deliberately sowing discord between the couple. Disheartened and disappointed in her husband, Evelyn agreed to her mother's request to return to L City. Only after Evelyn requested a divorce did Samuel realize he couldn't live without her, prompting him to chase her to L City. Meanwhile, Evelyn had already created a new life for herself through her diligence and intelligence. "We should get a divorce," Samuel said to Evelyn while she was cooking beside the wood-fired stove. She nodded in agreement. Evelyn rubbed in her pocket and pulled out a crumpled envelope, casually tossing it into the fire. "What was that letter?" Samuel asked. Evelyn glanced at the ashes being eaten by the flames. "Scrap paper." Samuel returned to the previous topic. "You stole Regina's bra. She was kind enough not to press charges or report you to the police." His tone was serious. "But how could you become like this?" "Stealing?" Evelyn smiled. "What do you expect me to do?" Samuel remained calm. "She said once someone else has touched her underwear, she doesn't want it anymore. You should compensate her and apologize." Just yesterday, Samuel, who was studying in the provincial capital, brought home his classmate Regina. Regina claimed she wanted to see the hometown of the literary talent, Samuel. That night, right after Samuel entered the bedroom, Regina began crying because her underwear had gone missing. She said she saw Evelyn rummaging through her bag and taking her floral bra, even trying it on. Regina then scolded Samuel on Evelyn's behalf. "Samuel, how could you treat your wife like this? Has she never seen a bra before?" Evelyn recalled the incident. "What's with that expression? Am I wrong for asking you to apologize?" Samuel's voice turned cold. "You're right," Evelyn replied with a smile, though inside she felt bitterness like biting into a bitter herb. She and Samuel had been married for 4 years, with him always away studying in the city. To outsiders, Samuel was a once-in-a-generation university student, the county's treasure. To them, Evelyn had struck gold. No one knew she had given up several chances to return to L City just to hold this little home together. A few days ago, Samuel wrote, saying he would be back with something to discuss. When he returned, he brought with him a delicate and dainty female classmate. Evelyn was tired. She was truly ready to leave. "I agree to the divorce. Do you have anything else to say? If not, I'm going inside." Samuel looked around the kitchen. "Go to the market and buy groceries. Cook a meal. Regina's not used to the food here, so make something light." "All right." Evelyn agreed readily. She was about to leave anyway. She had no interest in arguing over a meal or two. She picked up her bamboo basket for groceries and went back to get money. Just as she was about to leave the courtyard, Samuel stopped her. "Evelyn, go buy a chicken for Regina to make some soup. Meat ration coupon." In the 1980s, everything was distributed based on need, and meat was extremely precious. To buy meat, having money wasn't enough. You also needed a special meat ration coupon. Evelyn returned to her room and took one from a tin box. It had been a gift from Captain Bai of the production team, who had said Evelyn was too skinny and needed nutrition. She had been saving it for Samuel, planning to make him braised pork as a surprise. But Samuel had come back silently and given her a surprise of his own. "It's late today. I might not be able to buy one." She gave Samuel a heads up. Samuel seemed to understand and frowned. "When can you get one?" "You have to line up early in the morning." Samuel gave an order. "You soiled someone else's underwear. Of course you should apologize. Go early and line up. You can apologize to her at the same time." "Apologize?" She picked up the bra from the ground for her. "And that deserved an apology?" Seeing that Evelyn didn't immediately agree, Samuel grew displeased. "You don't want to?" Getting up early meant rising by 5 a.m. Evelyn could do it, but she had to report to the team at 6 a.m. to harvest wheat. She worried she wouldn't make it in time, but she swallowed her words. She was leaving soon, no point in explaining. "All right." She nodded, then asked, "Did you get the divorce certificate ready?" Samuel froze. surprise flashing in his eyes. This woman actually asked him that? Was she testing his resolve? So she was afraid after all. I came back in a hurry. He cut himself off, then spoke coldly. I'll go back to the university and get it in a few days. He countered. You should hurry and get your own certificate, too. Okay. Evelyn turned and went back into the house. Chapter 2. Evelyn had been right. She searched every corner of the supply store, but there wasn't a single piece of meat, not even an egg. On her way back home, she could only buy some cheap vegetables from a street vendor. When Samuel saw the basket full of greens, his face darkened. You're too much. Regina came all this way, and you serve her leaves and stems? Evelyn stood her ground. It was really too late. The store was sold out of both meat and eggs. Samuel went to the backyard and looked at the chicken coop. What about the eggs here? You ate them all by yourself? Captain Bai had given Evelyn a rare meat coupon. How could she not repay her with eggs? Ever since receiving it, Evelyn would give Bai any fresh eggs the chickens laid, boiled and wrapped. No need to explain. Samuel waved his hand dismissively. Disappointed with your petty nature. How can I keep living with you? I'm exhausted. Claiming she couldn't buy anything, wasn't it just because she was jealous and didn't want to try? In the end, she just didn't want the divorce. As dusk fell, Evelyn too felt drained. She returned to her room and opened the wardrobe. The letter lay beneath her bedding. Her mother in L City had written to her, saying her household registration issue was resolved, asking when she could return home. Evelyn had already written a reply, but earlier, she'd thrown it into the fire. In the letter, she had said she was now married. To her, L City was now just a distant hometown. Mom, we'll be seeing each other soon. Evelyn gently stroked the letter. Outside, Samuel's voice called out impatiently. Evelyn, aren't you making dinner? Who are you waiting for to cook? Regina's weak and not used to the climate. Can't you be more considerate? She can't go hungry. Evelyn had worked in the fields for over 10 days straight. Even when it rained, she would rush out to harvest the wheat before the storm hit. Starving if she had to. She could go hungry, but others couldn't. All right. I'm coming. She glanced once more at the letter, her emotions settling. Outside, Regina's composed voice floated in. Samuel, how can you shout at your wife like that? That's so chauvinistic. She may be a rural woman, but every woman deserves dignity. Evelyn passed the two of them and entered the kitchen. Regina's voice followed her. You should apologize to your wife. And first, you should buy her a proper bra. Evelyn sat on the small stool, struck a match, and started the fire. She glanced down at her clothes. They were the same ones sewn for her by Kim's mother when she got married, worn for 4 years, now threadbare. Before leaving, she would stop by the department store and buy 2 new outfits. That way, when she returned home, her mother wouldn't feel so sad. She's not like you, Samuel Kim sighed, always busy with nonsense in the fields and the kitchen. Anyway, I'll reimburse you for the bra, but I'll trouble you to go to the department store and buy one yourself. The firelight flickered across Evelyn's face. Before being sent to the countryside, she had lived well in L City. She had bras. She had floral dresses. Every night before bed, her mother would rub lotion on her arms. She wasn't born to toil over firewood and rice pots. Suddenly, the kitchen curtain swished aside. Samuel walked in with a stiff face. Cook faster. Don't let Regina go hungry. And at dinner, you'd better apologize to her for what happened yesterday. Dragging her feet, playing her little temper again. Regina had traveled far, of course she had to be treated properly. How could he keep face if Evelyn kept treating her this way? By the stove, grievance, resentment, the weight of both pressed down on Evelyn's heart, and she was about to burst. I didn't steal her bra. Samuel, I don't believe I should apologize. Each word was spoken clearly. Samuel understood them individually, but strung together, they made no sense to him. Was Evelyn possessed, defying him like this? Did she really dislike Regina that much? He'd never seen her this jealous before. What do you mean? Evelyn repeated herself. Samuel stared at her in disbelief. Evelyn, now you're just lying. Regina would never frame you. Do you even know what kind of person she is? She would never make something like that up. Outside, Regina sighed. Samuel, I really was too rash yesterday. I didn't consider how your wife might feel. Evelyn took off her apron. Settle dinner yourselves. I'm tired. I need rest. Samuel looked around the kitchen. He hadn't done hard chores in years and had no clue where to begin. She wasn't tired. She was jealous, taking it out on him. Evelyn, don't push it too far. Evelyn looked up and exhaled toward the ceiling. 4 years. And the man before her had never once fulfilled his duties as a husband. For years of college had turned him into a delicate city man. And she, once a real city woman, had become, in Samuel's eyes, a woman who fusses pointlessly in the fields. Samuel, do you even know how to chop wood? Evelyn let out a cold laugh, shoved the apron into his hands, and said, there's no more firewood in the kitchen. If you want to eat, chop it yourself. Footsteps echoed in the courtyard. Evelyn looked out and saw Regina gather her loose hair and head toward the woodpile. She picked up the axe and suddenly let out a sharp scream. Ah! Samuel flew out the door as if possessed. The two huddled together. Samuel held Regina's hand. Oh God, you're bleeding. His voice cracked. In the courtyard, Regina sobbed bitterly, repeatedly urging Samuel not to worry, that a tetanus shot at the clinic would be enough. A shot? Evelyn wanted to see what kind of wound would require an injection. She had wounds too. Did she need a shot? She put down the fire tongs and walked over to Regina. In the palm of Regina's hand was a small splinter, the area a bit red, like a tiny red plum blossom blooming in the snow. What's wrong with you? If there was something wrong with the axe, why didn't you handle it properly? Samuel frowned, reprimanding Evelyn. Regina wept. Samuel, don't blame your wife. I've never done any heavy work. My skin is just too delicate. It's my fault. Come on, I'll take you for a shot. He grabbed Regina by the sleeve and led her out of the courtyard. Now only Evelyn was left. She tugged at her own sleeve underneath. Her old wound throbbed. 2 days ago, while working, her sickle had grazed her arm, tearing off a chunk of skin. Do I need a shot too? She murmured. The next morning, Evelyn got up early, just as she finished washing up. Samuel stirred. Looks like you're behaving today. Woke up early to queue for chicken. Huh? Of course, she must be afraid of the divorce. Getting up this early, clearly trying to make up for yesterday. Samuel smiled with satisfaction. Evelyn froze. She realized Samuel had misunderstood. Not only was she not going to queue for chicken, she was about to do something much more important. Then his face stiffened. But could you wash up more quietly? What if you wake Regina? She's not used to the climate, and her hand is hurt. Can't you let her rest properly? Evelyn's wrist throbbed in pain. She let out a scornful laugh. Today, everything should come to an end. She went out, reached into the chicken coop, and pulled out 5 fresh eggs. After boiling them, she packed 2 to take with her. Put those down. Samuel's cold voice came from behind her. Chapter 3. You're eating 2 eggs by yourself? Samuel questioned sharply. Regina's already suffering because of you, and you can't even leave her a bit more to nourish herself? You're eating so many eggs. What? Are you trying to hoard all the nutrition for yourself? Evelyn felt the heat rising from every pore of her body, her blood boiling. She couldn't hold back any longer. Samuel, don't you think you're being ridiculous? Do you even know where the meat coupon came from? For 4 years while Samuel was away at university, he hadn't sent home a single cent, not even for basic living expenses. Well, if someone gave money, it must have been my parents. Samuel's face was dark with anger. Your parents' living expenses and the meat coupons were used to pay for your education. Evelyn bit down hard on her words. The meat coupon was given to me by Captain Bai of the production team. I gave her a few eggs every now and then. Was that too much? Worried about waking Regina, Samuel grew impatient. Enough! How did you turn into someone who fusses over every trivial thing? A little jealousy in a woman could be endearing, but this level of jealousy? Sigh. Samuel sighed. In his heart, everyone came before Evelyn. Because Evelyn was the softest, she never resisted. No matter what Samuel asked of her, she'd nod and agree without hesitation. Like leaving her behind in the countryside for 4 years. Like refusing to have children with her. Aren't we getting divorced anyway? What are you still fussing about? With that, Evelyn walked away. Production team, Captain by. I'd like to request a divorce certificate. Captain by. A woman in her 40s. Wasn't surprised by Evelyn's request. Did Samuel force you into this? Evelyn shook her head. I'm doing it of my own will. Captain by nodded but hesitated. Evelyn, it hasn't been easy for you and Samuel to get this far. Do you want me to try talking some sense into him? Evelyn looked at her with gratitude, gently refusing her kindness. It hadn't been easy for them to get married. 4 years ago, Evelyn lost her quota to return to L City. She couldn't take it. Wandered by the river for an entire day. Struggling with her depression, a sudden rainstorm upstream caused the river to swell rapidly. The embankment gave way beneath her feet, and Evelyn fell into the surging current. When she woke up, she learned someone had saved her. It was Samuel. They were found soaked and stranded in a rock cave. Because of town gossip, the two were hurried into marriage. Just like that, 4 years passed in a blur, and now, they stood on the edge of divorce. Evelyn was firm. No need. Captain by. I only want the divorce certificate from the team. Captain by pressed her lips tightly together. The woman Samuel brought home. Who is she? A classmate from university. Evelyn replied, without another word. Captain by pulled out a sheet of manuscript paper and sat down to write. Evelyn, you've sacrificed a lot leaving your home for this marriage. What Kim did makes him a modern-day traitor to love, just like a heartless sellout who ditches loyalty for power. Evelyn no longer cared, but she was deeply thankful for Captain Bai's support. Thank you. Holding the certificate, Evelyn blew gently to dry the ink in the official seal. Once it was fully dry, she carefully folded the divorce papers and returned to the fields to harvest wheat. Afternoon. Evelyn's back ached from exhaustion. She slumped onto a haystack. She had just caught her breath when Samuel came rushing over in a panic. Come with me. His voice was urgent. Seeing his anxious state, Evelyn thought something must have happened at home. She forgot her aching body and stood up quickly. Her vision went black, and she nearly collapsed. Samuel caught her briefly, then shook her off in disgust. You're so delicate, only I have the patience to tolerate you. Regina, unfamiliar with the region and suffering from discomfort, had insisted on going out to buy groceries. Meanwhile, Evelyn had been sulking since he returned home. Samuel couldn't figure out what she was so emotional about. Thinking about having to bring her back to the city later, Samuel felt a headache brewing. It was late September, not cold, but Evelyn still felt chilled to the bone. He tolerated me? Samuel, have you forgotten? Did something happen at home? She hadn't left yet, so she still cared about that home. Samuel's face darkened. If you hadn't caused trouble, that'd already be a blessing. Turned out, Regina had overheard their argument in the morning while Samuel wasn't paying attention. She left a note saying she went to buy meat, but hours had passed, and Regina still hadn't returned. Samuel was on the verge of panic. This is all your fault. Evelyn laughed coldly in her heart. Did she pick a fight with Samuel? Was she the one who sent Regina out? She's in an unfamiliar place, and she's just a fragile woman. Evelyn rolled up her sleeves and slapped the dust off her pants. Then go find her. Why are you looking for me? Samuel exploded. How can you be so heartless? She's missing, all because of you. Get back home and help me find her. Go home? No problem. Evelyn gave a quiet laugh. Yes, she really should go home now. Chapter 4. By the time they got home, Regina had already returned. She didn't have a key and sat shivering on the stone bench by the door. Evelyn looked closely. Regina's clothes and hair were messy, and at her feet was an empty shopping basket. When Regina saw Samuel, her eyes turned red. Samuel left Evelyn behind and rushed over. What happened? Regina threw herself into Samuel's arms and burst into sobs. I shouldn't have tried to act strong. Samuel gripped her shoulders with both hands, trying to steady her. Evelyn noticed that Samuel was trembling all over. He looked more distressed than Regina. Calm down, Regina. You're the best in our department. You're always the one who stays calm under pressure. Regina lifted her tear-streaked face. Delicate and pitiful. I went out to buy groceries this morning and saw someone trying to steal a young girl's wallet. I tried to warn her. And who knew that thief would target me instead? With a dramatic sob, Regina collapsed into Samuel's arms again. What happened then? Samuel was frantic. He followed me the whole way. I panicked and got lost in the city. Regina recounted through tears. He chased me all the way to the riverside and stared at me with that disgusting look. He nearly violated me. A flicker of fury flashed in Samuel's eyes. As he comforted Regina, his gaze landed sharply on Evelyn. Regina sniffled. Sister-in-law. I'm sorry. I was so foolish. I couldn't even handle a simple grocery run. I'll be more careful next time. Please don't fight with Samuel anymore, okay? Samuel looked from Regina to Evelyn. Why could Evelyn be more like Regina, so considerate, so understanding? Evelyn raised an eyebrow. She had to admit, this woman was quite something. You're pretty clever. The moment the words left her mouth, Samuel exploded. He pressed down on Regina's shoulder, then stormed over to Evelyn. What do you mean by that? Evelyn curved her lips into a smile, more sarcastic than Regina's most performative expressions. I meant it as a compliment. She really is smart. If she weren't, how could she have escaped from such a dangerous man? Samuel's face twitched. He turned back to Regina. Regina, how did you escape anyway? All the panic and fear were written plainly across his face. Regina covered her face, shaking her head desperately. Behind her hands, her eyes darkened. Evelyn took out the key and was about to enter the house when she suddenly turned and saw Kim mother and Kim father standing by the courtyard wall. Faces stiff. Dad. Mom. Evelyn greeted them at once. During the years Samuel was away, Evelyn had taken care of his parents, doing everything from meals to medicine. After all this time, the elder Kims had come to treat her like a real daughter. Seeing Evelyn brought some warmth back to Kim mother's face. Kim father pointed at Regina and asked Samuel, "Who is she?" Samuel replied, "Dad, she's a classmate from university. Her name's Regina. She just arrived yesterday and hasn't been feeling well. So I brought her." Before he could finish, Kim father raised a hand to cut him off. "We don't know her. Why is she in our home? And you, hugging and clinging to her in public? Have you no sense of decency?" Kim father was furious, hands clasped behind his back, head shaking in disbelief. As a middle school teacher in town, reputation meant everything to him. He'd already heard rumors yesterday about how his son Samuel had brought a fancy city girl back to divorce his wife. He was so angry he'd taken to bed, and only today did he and his wife manage to pull themselves together and confront their son. In the Kim family courtyard, before Kim father could cool off, Samuel began blaming him. "Dad, you were way out of line just now." Kim father was stunned. His son had never spoken back to him like this. Today he raised his voice. And for the sake of an outsider? Scanning the courtyard for a suitable object to throw, Kim father looked ready to explode. Evelyn, knowing Kim father had a weak heart from years of caring for him, quickly intervened. "Dad, please calm down. There's more to the situation than it looks." Samuel's face turned dark. He stepped toward Evelyn, eyes burning. "Stop stirring things up. Everything that happened to Regina today is your fault. If you don't reflect seriously on your behavior, then we're getting divorced tomorrow." Chapter 5. At last, Kim mother couldn't stay silent anymore. "Samuel Kim, are you insane?" Kim father clutched at his chest, his face looking pale and strained. The Kim household was in total chaos. Nearby, Regina continued sobbing. She timidly stepped behind Samuel and tugged at the hem of his shirt. "Samuel, I won't feel at ease like this. And please, don't blame sister-in-law. She didn't mean to steal my underwear. She definitely didn't mean to hurt me." Halfway through her words, she broke down in pitiful tears again. Kim mother, a seasoned woman who'd seen plenty in her life, pulled Evelyn behind her protectively and sharply turned to Regina. "You're a university student?" Regina glanced nervously at Samuel, then nodded. "Yes, Auntie." Kim mother sneered. "So universities don't test for character anymore? Your scheming is disgusting. Every word out of your mouth is aimed at my daughter-in-law. Do you think I'm blind and deaf and can't see through you?" Samuel's face turned a deep, liver-colored red. He muttered an apology to Regina, then stepped between her and his parents. "Mom, she's my classmate. She has a good character. You shouldn't." Smack! Kim father grabbed a stick and smashed it down on a nearby farm tool. The stick shattered into splinters. Samuel might argue with his mother, but when his father got angry, he grew afraid. You're grown now, we hadn't planned to interfere with your personal life. But Samuel, remember this, a person must act with a conscience, even if you've lost yours. Could you at least care about appearances? Evelyn's palms were drenched with sweat, but not a single tear fell from her eyes. Kim's father gently gestured for her to stay calm. Child, we know what kind of life you've lived these years. Don't worry, he won't bully you anymore. Kim's mother added, your father's right. Just when your days were about to get better, someone shows up wanting to reap the fruit of your labor? She shot Regina a sharp, disdainful glance. Not a chance. Evelyn quickly wiped at her eyes. If there was anything about the Kim family she still cared about, it was these two elders. She took Kim's mother's hand and softly said, I'll be fine, Mom. My own dad isn't in great health. I can't let him worry anymore. Please, don't concern yourselves with things between me and Samuel. I'll handle it. After much persuasion, Kim's mother finally agreed and pulled Kim's father away. Watching their retreating backs, Regina lightly tugged on Samuel's sleeve, a faint smile at her lips. She murmured, Sister-in-law really doesn't want me here. Samuel clenched his fists. She doesn't have the right. Moments later, Evelyn returned to the courtyard after seeing the elders off. Samuel's cold glare landed on her like a knife. Not bad. Evelyn, you learned to go crying to my parents now? Evelyn had done nothing wrong, and she wasn't going to admit to it. She didn't know how the elders had found out, but Kim's father's near collapse had genuinely shaken her. I didn't. Then who else could it be? Samuel roared, his voice low and furious. Evelyn, Regina is a guest in our home. You know perfectly well what you've done to her. I'll say it clearly, you must apologize for everything you've done to her. Chapter 6. A suffocating pressure settled over Evelyn. No more explaining, no more defending. It was time to leave, immediately and for good. Samuel, this is it. She turned and went back into the house. From the deepest corner of the wardrobe, Evelyn pulled out her travel bag. The first thing she packed was her mother's letter. Then she grabbed two of her least worn but presentable outfits. The door curtain flapped wildly as Samuel stormed in, fuming. Where do you think you're going? Samuel glared at Evelyn. He was furious. Petty theft. Lies. Tattling, and now she dared threaten him by pretending to leave? Then go. Let her go. Anger surged through him, pushing out all rational thought. If you dare step out of that door, don't even think about coming back for the rest of your life. Samuel didn't believe Evelyn would really leave. Where could she go? Where would she dare go? Behind him, Regina sniffled and tugged at his sleeve, her tears glistening. Samuel, don't say such harsh things. What if she really doesn't come back? What will you do then? But then, Regina looked up and locked eyes with Evelyn. She froze. Evelyn was smiling. She curled her lips. I told you, you're clever. Samuel clenched his fists, watching Evelyn pack. She was completely unreasonable. Regina had tried to help them reconcile, yet Evelyn was being snide and sarcastic. Samuel shoved Regina back gently, making space at the door. Regina, don't bother with her. I don't know what kind of spell she's under lately. Let her leave and stay gone. Perfect. Evelyn felt a wave of lightness. After 4 long years, this was finally closure. She pushed aside the curtain and stepped out of the room. As she passed Samuel, she paused. I've already gotten my divorce certificate. You should go back and get yours in the next couple of days. Let's go to the civil affairs office and make it official. For a moment, Samuel was stunned, but then quickly collected himself. So Evelyn had really gotten the certificate? No, impossible. She wouldn't actually go through with a divorce. This must be a test to see if he would back down. Fine, I'll go back to school and get it done. Samuel spoke calmly. As Evelyn approached the gate, Regina suddenly burst into tears. Samuel, how can you get divorced? This is all my fault. I shouldn't have come here. Blame me instead. But what will you do? How will you live alone? Samuel responded in the gentlest voice Evelyn had ever heard from him, so soft, so caring. She didn't care to listen anymore. She opened the door and walked out. Won't a divorce affect your political career? Aren't you already nominated to be the mayor's secretary? Regina blinked up at him, eyes wide with anticipation. Samuel patted her shoulder. You're too kind. Don't worry about me. Regina wiped her tears and looked at the empty doorway, a smile slowly curling on her lips. Samuel wandered back inside and absent-mindedly opened the wardrobe. There were only 2 coats of Evelyn's left inside, patched upon patches. He vaguely remembered these coats. She'd worn them when she was first sent to the countryside as a youth worker. Just then, hurried footsteps echoed from the courtyard, pulling Samuel back to reality. Old Jean from down the road came panting into the yard. "Quick, your dad had a heart attack." They rushed him to the county hospital. Samuel's chest tightened. He turned back to glance once more at the wardrobe. "Hurry! Your wife's already there." That line sobered Samuel completely. Behind him, Regina's eyes darkened. When they arrived at the county hospital, Kim's father lay pale on the hospital bed. At the sight of Samuel and Regina at the door, his face turned even worse. He lifted a trembling hand and said in a ghostly voice, "Get out." Kim's mother stepped forward, her expression ice cold. "If you don't want your father dying today, then take your classmate and leave." She slammed the door so hard that Evelyn, who was just returning from paying the hospital bill, was startled. Regina rushed forward and grabbed Evelyn's arm. "Sister-in-law, Samuel knows he was wrong. Please go talk to Uncle and Aunt. Let Samuel in, he just wants to know if Uncle is okay." Evelyn's brow lifted. She shook off Regina's hand. Samuel saw Evelyn's reaction and immediately lost his temper. "Regina, they're my parents. Why are you begging her?" His voice thundered through the narrow hallway. Evelyn put her finger to her lips and whispered, "If you shout again, his heart really won't be able to take it." She tucked the receipt into her pocket, stepped around Samuel, and pushed open the hospital room door. Through the crack, Samuel saw his mother embracing Evelyn, crying. Outside the inpatient ward, Samuel stood near the flower bed, looking up at the windows above, deeply conflicted. "Samuel, you're right. You're their son. If you really wanted to go in, she couldn't stop you." Regina seized the moment to fan the flames. "Sister-in-law is wrong. She should let you explain, not lock you out. That only makes things worse." Samuel pulled out a cigarette and paused to glance at Regina for permission. She nodded, her eyes brimming with concern. "Regina, she's not very reasonable, but she did take good care of my parents all these years." Regina's jaw tensed. She looked toward the hospital room, her eyes shadowed with a dark glint. "You're getting divorced. What about your parents then?" She hid the thrill rising in her chest. Samuel exhaled a long stream of smoke, his eyes tender. "Don't worry, Evelyn's just throwing a fit. She won't really leave. Of course, I can't spoil her too much. If a woman doesn't listen, that's no good." Regina's heart skipped a beat, her expression tightening sharply. In that moment, she seemed to understand something, and she made up her mind. She'd go all in. Chapter 7. In the hospital room, Kim's father had just passed the critical stage. Kim's mother sat by his bedside, sighing endlessly. "This all started so suddenly. It's all because..." Kim's father raised his hand to stop her mid-sentence, giving her a firm look. Kim's mother swallowed her words like poison and said nothing more. "Child, your mother and I will stand by you," Kim's father said. Evelyn felt her eyes begin to burn. None of it mattered anymore. She was leaving. The only thing she truly couldn't let go of was the Kim family's elders. "Mom, Dad, the doctor said you have to keep the emergency heart pills with you at all times." She smiled gently, her voice exceptionally calm. Just then, a nurse pushed open the door. "Family of bed 17. Evelyn, someone's downstairs asking for you." Evelyn offered a few more reminders, then left the ward. Kim's mother watched her leave, worry etched deep into her wrinkles. "Old man, something didn't seem right with Evelyn just now, don't you think?" Kim's father clutched at his chest. "Stop overthinking. The girl's just upset. She'll feel better in a few days." Evelyn stepped out of the inpatient wing. People bustled about in the hospital courtyard, but no one appeared to be looking for her. Then a child ran up and handed her a folded piece of paper before bolting away. Evelyn opened the note. "Meet me on the river embankment across from the hospital. I have something important to discuss." She looked at the child's retreating back, clutched the note, and made her way to the embankment. "Who wants to talk to me?" The autumn wind howled, and the temperature had dropped. Standing in the cold, Evelyn shivered. "Sister-in-law." Regina stepped out from the small grove, eyes swollen red, squeezing out a few tears. Seeing Regina, Evelyn instinctively became alert. "Can we talk?" Regina asked. No. Evelyn saw no reason they should talk. She turned to leave. Suddenly, Regina grabbed her arm and burst into loud sobs. "Sister-in-law, I was wrong, I really was wrong." Evelyn's alarm bells went off. Regina wasn't someone to be trusted. There had to be something sinister behind this. She yanked her arm free and turned to leave the embankment. Regina looked around, no one in sight. Her expression darkened. She lunged forward and grabbed Evelyn's arm, trying to shove her down the slope. All her polished calm vanished, replaced by a vicious frenzy. "You backwater hick! No family background, no education. What right do you have to hog a man like that? He's going to be a secretary, a future leader. You're not good enough for Samuel. Only I am his match. You should just die." Evelyn's eyes widened in shock. She never imagined Regina would be so ruthless, not just trying to take Samuel, but now her life too. "Let go of me!" Evelyn screamed. Regina frantically looked around again, then grabbed Evelyn by the hair and kicked her in the stomach. "Go die!" Evelyn lost her balance and fell hard onto the ground. As Regina rushed in to push her off the embankment, Evelyn rolled to the other side and tumbled down a muddy path instead. She sprang up and ran into the trees. Realizing she couldn't catch her, Regina glanced toward the river. She spotted someone on the opposite bank. Thinking quickly, she let herself collapse backward onto the embankment slope and began sliding down. Then she screamed, "Sister-in-law, why did you push me? Help! Help!" Moments later, she plunged into the river. Her cries for help echoed across the embankment. By the time Samuel saw Evelyn again, night had fallen. Evelyn sat silently in the corner of an office, staring out the dark window. Regina, drenched and trembling, rushed into Samuel's arms. "Samuel, I caused trouble again. I wanted to apologize to sister-in-law, but she said I was destroying your marriage. Then she pushed me into the river." She sobbed uncontrollably. Evelyn turned from the window and looked at Samuel, then at Regina clinging to him. Her lips quivered. "Samuel, she tried to kill me." Evelyn clenched her fists, a storm rising in her chest. She was seconds from exploding, but she held her breath, watching to see whether Samuel would believe her. Samuel gently pushed Regina aside and stepped toward Evelyn. He frowned deeply, struggling to process what he was hearing. "Evelyn, there are some lies you can tell, and some you can't. For most things." Evelyn didn't care to explain. But this, if she didn't explain, she could go to jail. "She told me I didn't deserve to be your wife and tried to push me into the river. I got away. And then she threw herself in." Regina pointed at Evelyn, her whole body shaking with fury. "You shameless liar! I wanted to apologize, but you accused me of destroying your marriage. Then you pushed me and told me to die." Like a madwoman, she flung herself into Samuel's arms, crying louder than ever. "Samuel! People across the river saw everything. And she's still lying. You poor man, you married a heartless woman." Samuel was well known in the county, and many of the officers knew him personally. They'd also heard gossip about the Kim family. One officer approached. "Samuel, maybe the two of you should talk things out." He emphasized the word "two of you," a pointed reminder. Evelyn looked to Samuel. They had been married for 4 years. She thought, no. She hoped that he would know what kind of person she was. Samuel closed his eyes in disappointment and shook his head. "No need. Thank you, Officer Lee. She lies so easily now, if you have evidence. Just handle it by the book." Evelyn was utterly devastated. She looked into Samuel's eyes and found only bone-deep indifference. "Don't give me that look. Do you even remember how we got married?" Samuel asked. Of course she did. It all started by the river. If she hadn't fallen in, if he hadn't saved her, they never would have married. If you could fall in by accident, how hard would it be if someone really pushed you? Samuel sighed. Beside him, Regina raised her head in a triumphant smile. Samuel's voice was hard, disappointed. "Evelyn, let this be a lesson. Don't let your emotions cloud your judgment again. You'll pay the price for what you did." Evelyn slumped in her chair. So she had been wrong. Of course Samuel wouldn't believe her. Suddenly, her chest seized, her heartbeat racing. Jail? No. I have to go home. Mama is still waiting for me in L City. She glanced around the sterile, freezing office. Her closest person was busy wiping tears for another woman. Only the two officers, whose names she barely knew, gave her a look of distant sympathy. What do I do now? She murmured to the window, but she couldn't see anything out there, only darkness. Like a demon's mouth yawning open. Scared now, are you? Samuel's voice cut through, cold and sharp. I don't understand how you became this way. Didn't you think this moment would come when you pushed Regina into the river? You'd better start repenting. He exhaled and led Regina out of the room. As the door shut, Evelyn shivered violently. So cold. Chapter 8. The next day, Regina took the initiative to go to the hospital. She rolled up her sleeves, grabbed a mop, and started cleaning the hospital room. Are you sick in the head? Kim mother snapped, her eyes fierce. The news of Evelyn's arrest had spread throughout the county overnight. The elderly couple in the hospital had cried the entire night upon hearing it. Regina, clueless, smiled softly. Auntie, I'm not sick. Don't worry. Since Evelyn's in trouble, I came to take care of you both. She smoothed her bangs delicately. Kim mother sneered. You're not sick. Then what are you doing in a hospital? Regina was stunned speechless and looked anxiously at Samuel standing behind her. Samuel stepped in protectively. Mom, don't say that. Regina meant well. She just wanted to help. He cast a nervous glance at his father lying in bed. Kim father kept his eyes shut, as if the very sight of filth would upset him. His chest rose and fell erratically, seemingly on the verge of another attack. Good intentions? Anyone can fake those. Kim mother huffed and stomped her foot, sending water splashing on the cold tile. What kind of weather is this to be mopping floors? It'll stay wet for hours. Do you want to make your father even sicker? Only then did Samuel realize the floor was soaked. The autumn wind was harsh, and the wet floor made the hospital room feel even colder. But it wasn't Regina's fault. He reasoned. She was a city girl, pampered and delicate. Of course she didn't know how to do chores. Not like Evelyn, who was used to hard labor. He gently pulled Regina out of the room, full of pity. You've gone through so much. Regina's eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head. Samuel, my heart hurts. Everything happening to your family is my fault. If I hadn't gone to your wife that day, none of this would have happened. She wouldn't have pushed me into the river. She glanced back at the hospital room with a look of anticipation. At least your parents will have someone to care for them now. She was clearly hoping for something. To her surprise, after a long silence, Samuel asked, think carefully. Is it possible Evelyn pushed you by accident during the argument? The night before, after calming down, Samuel had started to reconsider. Evelyn had many flaws, but murder? That didn't seem like her. There had to be some kind of misunderstanding. Still, he didn't want Evelyn to get off so easily. She had been acting too erratic lately. She needed to be taught a serious lesson, or she'd never learn. A flicker of disappointment crossed Regina's face, but she quickly looked up with wide, innocent eyes and murmured, I'm sorry, Samuel, but the way I was raised, I can't lie. Samuel's heart grew even more conflicted. Regina was a celebrated talent in the literature department, praised for her intelligence and virtue. How could he cast doubt on a girl like her? I'm the one who should apologize. Evelyn had spent 2 days in the detention center, without a single bite of food. She often curled up on the hard wooden bunk, hugging her knees, staring blankly at the small square of sky above her. She could sit like that for hours. She didn't regret hesitating at the river that day to help Kim father. She didn't regret walking into Regina's trap at the embankment either. Staring up at the sky, Evelyn made a silent vow. If she ever got out, she would return to L City immediately, even without the divorce certificate. She had to leave this place, now. Evelyn, you can go. A female officer opened the door and gave her a small smile. Evelyn stared blankly for several seconds before realizing she hadn't misheard. After completing the paperwork, Evelyn saw Captain Bai waiting for her at the detention center. You should thank Captain Bai, the officer said as she handed over Evelyn's travel bag. It turned out Bai had worked tirelessly for her release. When she heard what had happened, she didn't sleep a wink, walking house to house along the river embankment, asking witnesses about that day. Thankfully, She found the young boy who had delivered Regina's note. The kid got curious and followed you afterward. Bai said proudly. He saw it all, you walked away. And that wretched girl fell in on her own. Wretched girl? Evelyn laughed through tears and threw her arms around Bai. Big sis Bai. Thank you for saving my life. Captain Bai waved her hand dismissively. This wasn't me, this was justice. Even the heavens couldn't stomach what she did. Evelyn. We've all seen what you've endured over the years. That scoundrel you married doesn't deserve you. Evelyn gripped Bai's hand tightly. In this small county, she now had one more person she couldn't bear to leave. Big sis Bai. I'll remember you forever. You'll always be family to me. Captain Bai didn't ask where Evelyn was going. She simply patted her shoulder gently. And I'll never forget you either. Before leaving, Evelyn went to the hospital to steal a final glance at the Kim elders. Then she headed straight to the long-distance bus station, bought a ticket to the provincial capital, and from there boarded a train, back to L City. Chapter 9. Samuel. I'm so stupid, I don't even know how to start a fire. Regina sat on a small stool, her face streaked with soot, looking helpless and delicate. Samuel was chopping firewood in the courtyard, his movements clumsy. Every time he swung the axe, the log would fall away before he even hit it. It happened over and over again. He suddenly remembered Evelyn once asking him, "Do you even know how to chop wood anymore?" It hit him, he really didn't. Samuel, it's so hot in here. Regina whined more coquettishly. You shouldn't be doing this. Let me do it. Samuel was so touched he dropped what he was doing, preparing to help her. Bang, bang, bang. 3 loud knocks came from the gate. Samuel opened the door and found 2 police officers standing there, both familiar faces. Officer Lee? Where's Regina? Officer Lee asked directly, hearing someone call her name. Regina walked out of the kitchen. Lee took his time scanning the scene. The 2 looked like a couple playing house. A sarcastic smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. Come with us. Samuel's temper flared. He stepped in front of Regina. Officer Lee, what's the meaning of this? Samuel was the county's first college student and was seen as someone with a promising future. Most locals treated him with admiration, but Officer Lee feared no one. Samuel, your personal matters aren't mine to judge, but let me offer you a bit of advice if your eyes aren't working right. Get glasses. Samuel understood. This was about Evelyn. You don't know everything about what's been going on between Evelyn and me. Lately, she's been acting unstable. First she stole Regina's undergarments. Then she tried to kill her. You saw that with your own eyes? Lee cut him off sharply. Samuel was instantly speechless. He hadn't seen it himself, but why would Regina lie? Regina jumped in. Officer Lee, what is your relationship with Evelyn that you're taking her side so obviously? Lee turned to the other officer and shook his head in disbelief. And I'd like to ask you the same, what's your relationship with Evelyn? That you'd push her into the river, fail to succeed, and then accuse her of attempted murder? His voice suddenly turned sharp and severe. Samuel shielded Regina protectively. Watch your words. On what basis are you accusing Regina of pushing her? On what evidence? The other officer calmly explained. A new witness had come forward. Regina's face turned pale in an instant. She gripped Samuel's hand in a panic. Samuel! She must have bribed someone to lie. Evelyn's been in this county for years. Of course people would take her side. Why would I frame her? What would I gain? She burst into tears. Samuel, sweating and flustered, tried to comfort her. Don't worry, I won't let her falsely accuse you. Officer Lee sneered. Samuel, why is it so easy for you to believe a stranger, and so hard to believe your own wife? Because she lies all the time. And whether I believe her or not is a Kim family matter. You're a cop, just worry about public safety. Don't meddle in my household. Samuel lifted his chin, glaring. Lee let out a cold laugh. Furious but composed. It won't be a household matter for much longer. What do you mean? Samuel's expression froze. Evelyn has already left, and before she did, she asked about cross-region divorce procedures. It was as if the blood drained from Samuel's body. Evelyn wanted a divorce? The girl he pulled from the river, the wife who waited at home for 4 years, who always obeyed him with downcast eyes. She actually had the nerve to leave? He couldn't accept it. He staggered and had to lean against the wall to stay upright. She ran away because she's guilty. Why are you going after me? The victim? Regina clung to Samuel, sobbing. We have solid evidence. That's why we let her leave the county, said the officer. Leave the county. The word struck Samuel like a thunderclap. She really left? Samuel tore Regina's arms off, shoved everyone aside, and bolted from the house. Where are you going? Regina cried behind him, tears brimming. Samuel waved dismissively and sprinted out of the alley like a man possessed. He ran straight to the detention center. After confirming Evelyn had indeed been released, his face darkened like soot. She couldn't have gone far. She couldn't have left the county. Impossible. She must be at the production team. Evelyn had mentioned many times how close she was with Captain Bai. She must have gone there. When Samuel arrived, Captain Bai was locking up the office for the day. Captain Bai, where's Evelyn? She didn't even look at him, unlocking her bike with a scoff. She said nothing and walked off. Samuel followed her persistently, asking over and over. At her doorstep, she finally stopped, clearly annoyed. You want to search my house? She pushed open the door and walked into the courtyard. Samuel actually followed. Inside the living room, his eyes darted around and landed on something familiar. A cushion on the sofa, just like the one at home. Looks familiar? Like it? Bai sneered. Evelyn made it. That girl was a gem, honest, capable, beautiful. She watched Samuel's expression darken, then delivered the final blow. She's better off gone. No more being crushed under your jerk attitude. The world outside is so much bigger. Don't you think? Samuel's face turned as black as ink. He knew he wouldn't get anything out of Bai. He glanced around once more to make sure Evelyn wasn't there and turned to leave. Sorry to disturb you, Captain Bai. Just as he reached the door, she called out, Samuel, let me be blunt. You never deserved Evelyn. That girl gave up her chance to return to the city for you and stayed in this backwater for 4 years. Hands on hips. Her voice thundered through the courtyard. She went without food, without clothes, gave everything to you and your parents. She slammed her hand on the table. You've seen how skinny she is? She had pneumonia early this year, almost died. You didn't know that, did you? Or did you just pretend not to? Samuel froze. He genuinely didn't know. Every letter from Evelyn had been full of reassurance, pages and pages urging him to eat well, not to worry, that everything was fine. She always enclosed what little money she could scrape together. Why didn't she tell me? He couldn't believe it. Evelyn, that spoiled and delicate girl, how could she not tell him something so serious? She must have put Bai up to this, trying to make him feel guilty. She said if she told you, you'd feel compelled to come back, and that would have ruined your studies. Bai's expression was scathing. Turns out, she overestimated you. Seeing the disbelief on his face, her anger flared again. You doubt her? Then stop dragging her down. Get lost. What a nasty woman, Samuel thought. No wonder Evelyn turned out like this. Look who she hangs around. He gave up trying to argue and left the house. Since the production team led nowhere, he'd have to try something else. But no matter how long he thought, he still couldn't figure out where Evelyn might go. As he walked back toward town, one chilling realization hit him. They'd been married 4 years, and he knew nothing about her. Where did she go when she was sad? Who were her friends? He had no idea. By the time Samuel got back to the county, the sky was fully dark. He pushed open the door to his house. It was empty. Regina was gone too. The moment he flicked on the light, one thought hit him like a thunderbolt. Officer Lee came for Regina today, accused her of framing Evelyn. Then where was Regina now? Had she been arrested? Not even stopping for a drink of water. Samuel's face turned ghostly pale. He rushed out the door again. Chapter 10. At the police station, Regina sat in the same corner where Evelyn had sat just days earlier. When she saw Samuel enter, she immediately covered her face and began sobbing. Samuel frowned and turned to Officer Lee. Do you even have any proof? Why did you arrest Regina? Officer Lee closed his notebook and casually sipped his tea. If we arrested her, of course we have proof. And you are, what? Her family? Samuel stiffened, his face pale. Classmate, friend, is that not enough? Regina stepped forward and clung to Samuel's arm. Samuel, Don't talk to the officer like that. It must be a misunderstanding. I'm sure they'll clear things up. Officer Lee stood up, looking Regina over with clear disdain. You're dreaming. The evidence is solid. There's no misunderstanding here. You failed to hurt Evelyn, then falsely accused her of attempted murder. You've already committed the crime of false accusation. At the word crime, Regina's legs gave out. She collapsed into Samuel's arms, wailing, Samuel, they're framing me. I never should have gone home with you. Her cries were piercing. Samuel's expression darkened. Officer Lee, who's the witness? You detained Evelyn on just a few words, and now you plan to do the same to Regina? Is this how the law works? He slammed the table. If I don't get a clear explanation today, I will report you to your superiors. This is outrageous. Just then, the door opened. Kim father, supported by Kim mother, stepped unsteadily into the office. Samuel, haven't you shamed yourself enough? His voice thundered with rage. It turned out that as soon as Kim father was well enough to walk, he had Kim mother bring him to the detention center to see Evelyn. When they found out she had already left, they were anxious and came to the police station to file a report. But what they found instead was their son threatening law enforcement. Regina was still clinging to Samuel's arm, which Kim mother found utterly revolting. Dad, Mom, why are you here? Samuel asked nervously, quickly withdrawing his arm to support his father. The elderly couple exchanged a look. Kim father suddenly broke down into tears. Kim mother sniffled beside him. The whole county's talking about how you chased your wife away. The city sent someone to check on your background, but after hearing the gossip, they left without meeting you. Regina panicked more than Samuel. She rushed to Kim mother, her face nearly touching hers. What happened? Can Samuel still keep his secretary job? Kim mother gave her a cold sneer. Of course not. And it's not just him, you're getting disciplinary action from the university too. Regina stumbled backward, then suddenly exploded. She turned and flipped the police officer's desk. Samuel stared at her like she was a stranger. Regina spun around, eyes bloodshot. It must have been Evelyn. She must have gone to the city to report us. Samuel, you're pathetic. Because of you, I'm being ruined. I said she stole my bra, and you didn't kick her out. I said she pushed me into the river, and you still didn't send her away. And now there's evidence and she ran to the city. How stupid are you? Ha 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 ha. Kim mother burst out laughing. Evelyn? Report Samuel? That was my lie. Samuel, do you see her now for what she is? She only came here to reap the rewards. Regina suddenly covered her mouth, eyes darting in panic. No, that's not true. She rushed to Samuel, wrapped her arms around his waist, her voice soft and sweet again. Samuel, your mom just misunderstands me. How could she think of me like that? But as she gazed into Samuel's eyes, she saw something she'd never seen before. Frost. She trembled, reaching up to touch his face. Samuel grabbed her wrist and shoved it down hard. Samuel, that hurts. Her teary eyes glistened with false innocence. You started wronging Evelyn the moment you entered our home. Calling her a thief was still forgivable, but framing her for murder? How vile are you? Samuel's voice no longer sounded human, it was pure fury. Regina clutched her chest, sobbing. It really was Evelyn who tried to kill me. Samuel, we've been classmates for 4 years. Don't you know me? Samuel let out a bitter laugh, staring up at the ceiling. He and Evelyn had been married for 4 years too, and yet he'd chosen not to believe her. He flung Regina's hand away and gritted his teeth. Regina, it's you who should repent. It's you who should go to prison. Every bit of suffering Evelyn endured, you'll taste it too. You'd better reflect on it in jail. Regina couldn't believe what she was hearing. Just hours ago, Samuel had been doting on her, and now, he was treating her like an enemy. Samuel, be honest with yourself. You love me. That peasant Evelyn, she doesn't deserve you. You're going to the city to become a secretary. What are you going to do? Bring a farm girl with you? Samuel roared. Shut up. The whole office shook with his voice. You don't even deserve to say her name. She is my wife, past, present, and future. And you? You're nothing. Officer Lee folded his arms and exchanged a glance with the female officer. All right, back to work. The female officer stepped forward and handcuffed Regina. Regina clawed at the desk, glaring hatefully at Samuel. "If you dare leave me, I'll go to the city and accuse you of abandoning and deceiving a woman." Kim's mother's shouting drowned everything else out. Samuel gave Regina one last look. "Do what you want." Then he strode out of the station, straight to the bus terminal. Chapter 11. After returning to L City, Evelyn, with her family's help, began working at a department store. It didn't take long for her to fully adapt to her new life. She even won first prize at a sales skills competition, thanks to her near-perfect accuracy in weighing candy by hand with less than a 1% error margin. Reporter Colin cornered her at the counter again. "Comrade Kim, if you refuse my interview again today, I'm going to your house for dinner." Ha ha ha. Her co-worker, Xiao Wu, bent over laughing. "I bet the first half was a joke, the second part's your real motive." Colin remained composed, trying to explain. "The second part was just a joke, but I do want to remind everyone, nights in L City haven't been too safe lately." "What do you mean not safe?" Xiao Wu asked, intrigued. Being a reporter, Colin had access to inside information. Everyone crowded around him. Apparently, there had been several reports recently of female workers being followed and even assaulted on their way home from work. Colin patiently answered their flood of questions. "All right. Safety talk over. Comrade Kim, now please help me finish my article, so I can get off work early." He looked at Evelyn. Evelyn blushed. "I've told you already. It's not some secret technique. Back when I was in the countryside, I used to weigh wheat harvests every season." She shot Colin a helpless glance. Why was this reporter suddenly so obsessed? He's been hovering around her counter for 3 days in a row. It was getting in the way of work. "Then tell us about your time in the countryside. Our readers are curious." Evelyn sighed. Coworker Xiao Wang chimed in. "Is it really the readers who are curious, or just you?" Colin turned red, hugging his notebook sheepishly. "Of course it's for the readers." Suddenly, the market's main entrance curtain was lifted, letting in a blast of cold air. Evelyn reflexively covered her mouth and nose with her sleeve. "Achoo!" A blue plaid handkerchief appeared in front of her. "Here, Colin again." Evelyn frowned and ignored him, bending down to sort bulk candy. When she looked up again, Colin was gone. She sighed in relief. After work, she waved goodbye to her coworkers and stepped into the cold winter night. Her pace quickened. So did the footsteps behind her. Colin's warning about the women being followed flashed through her mind. Her hands clenched, and she broke into a jog. Suddenly, "Hey, what are you doing following her?" Colin's voice. Evelyn whirled around and locked eyes with someone far too familiar. The winter wind cut sharper. She shivered involuntarily. Samuel. What was he doing here? She laughed bitterly. It must be a coincidence. He probably had business in L City and just happened to pass by. You following her for what? Colin stood in front of her protectively. Samuel's eyes were icy. He stepped toward Colin. "Excuse me. I'm looking for my wife." "Wife? No way." To him, she was a thief, a liar, an attempted murderer. The swirling leaves piled up by the sidewalk, like small barricades. Evelyn felt like she couldn't breathe. "Evelyn, why didn't you tell me you were going back to your family?" Samuel's gaze pierced through Colin. "You made it really hard to find you." Evelyn's voice was calm and firm. "More so than ever. I didn't go back to my family. I went back to my own home." Samuel's expression shifted. "Evelyn, don't be like this." He tried to step past Colin to grab her arm. Smack! Colin slapped his hand away. "Show some respect to women." Samuel's anger surged. "I'll say it again. She's my wife." Colin didn't flinch. His presence felt like an unshakable wall. "Wife or not, she's a human being first, and it's clear she doesn't want to talk to you. Respect her choice." Samuel didn't believe for a second that some outsider's words would sway Evelyn. "Evelyn, do you want to talk to me?" Evelyn shook her head. "No." She sneered. "Samuel, if you're here to give me the divorce papers, then sure, we can talk. Otherwise, we've got nothing to say." Samuel's face darkened. He turned to Colin. "What's your relationship with her? Why were you following her in the middle of the night?" Evelyn clenched her fists. Her chest ached with rage. She thought back to those 2 nights in the cold detention cell, the hardest nights of her life. She had hugged her knees and huddled in the corner, swearing to return to L City no matter what. Samuel, what right do you have to ask me that? Samuel lowered his head and took a long breath. Evelyn. It's true, I misjudged Regina. She's in custody now. It's over. Please, come home with me. How laughable. Samuel still thought their issues stemmed from Regina. He never realized. The thing that truly broke Evelyn's heart was his betrayal, his cruelty, his refusal to believe her. She let out a bitter laugh. Samuel. Are you dreaming? Under Colin's watchful gaze, Samuel grew frantic. Why are you still so unforgiving? I've apologized. What more do you want? Evelyn shot back instantly. I want you out of my life, forever. Samuel's temper exploded. The mask of the elegant scholar shattered. He shoved Colin aside and lunged for Evelyn's arm. You're coming home with me. You're my wife, my woman. How dare you stand around laughing with another man at work? Evelyn froze. You were following me? Colin chuckled. He's been following you all day. That's why I waited near your workplace, to see what he was up to. Warmth filled Evelyn's chest. In all these years, aside from her mother, no one had protected her like this, especially during those years in the countryside. Walking miles of night roads alone, she used to be scared, but Samuel had only said, "What's there to be afraid of? Every woman gets through it." Colin opened his camera case, removed the film roll, and handed it to Evelyn. This is proof he was stalking you. Use it if you decide to file a report. Evelyn looked at him gratefully. Thank you. Samuel looked stunned. Call the cops? Seriously? I just wanted to see if you were doing okay. His tone softened. Come home with me. Evelyn held up the film roll. Like I said, if it's about finalizing the divorce, I'll give you a few minutes. If not, and you show up again, I will call the police. You're really not coming back? Samuel gritted his teeth, throwing aside all remaining pride. Evelyn tucked the film away and turned toward home. Behind her, Samuel's voice rang out, hoarse, desperate. Evelyn, you're my wife. I'm not giving up on you. Chapter 12. Evelyn's shoes crunched through fallen leaves, the brittle sound echoing like the shattering of her heart. She never imagined Samuel would chase her all the way to El City. How dare he show up here? She had already escaped. Come home. Started over, yet he still clung to her like a shadow. After some distance, Evelyn noticed someone following behind. She turned and saw Colin. Her eyes turned red. Thank you, Colin. Hands in his pockets. Grinned. If you really mean that, you'll let me finish my interview. Evelyn let out a laugh before she even realized it. Just moments ago, Samuel had stirred all her sorrow, but now, somehow, she could laugh again, just like that. If you don't mind the boredom, I'll tell you about my time in the countryside. Reporter Chan. Colin straightened up, clearly excited. How could that be boring? He stood upwind, blocking the cold breeze for her. As they walked, Evelyn spoke in detail about her days on the production team. It was exhausting, but fulfilling. There were many kind people who cared for me, genuinely good people. She recalled Captain Bai, the team workers, even Samuel's parents. But the memories of Samuel? They drifted through her mind like sludge, murky and thick. Oh, you mentioned you got hurt while harvesting wheat? Colin raised an eyebrow. Notebook in hand. Was it serious? Evelyn tugged up her sleeve, revealing a long scar along her forearm. Colin's face tightened. That bad? His brows drew together, lips pressed in a firm line, as if he felt the pain himself. Did you get a tetanus shot? Evelyn shrugged. That was over a month ago. I didn't get one, but I'm still alive, so I guess I didn't need it. Suddenly, Colin grew serious. Comrade Kim, please take better care of yourself. Evelyn looked at him, deeply moved. After a long pause, she nodded. I will. Reporter Chan. Several days passed. Samuel didn't appear again, but Evelyn felt his presence hadn't left. Meanwhile, Evelyn's feelings toward Colin grew more complicated. He had already finished his interview. Why was he still showing up at the department store? He practically treated it like his office, loitering around all day. On the 8th day, Evelyn couldn't take it anymore. During her lunch break, she pulled Colin into a nearby alley. Reporter Chan, is there something you still need at the store? Blunt, but necessary. Colin hesitated, then blushed. Comrade Kim, I want to know you better because his words trailed off. Evelyn, a woman with experience, quickly understood. Reporter Chan, thank you, but my situation is complicated. Legally, I'm still married. Colin scratched his brow, voice gentle but firm. I understand. Don't worry about me, just focus on your future. I've looked into it. If the husband refuses to divorce, the wife can file for litigation. Evelyn's eyes welled with tears. She had been up late the night before, debating whether to pursue a lawsuit. She couldn't bear to see Samuel again, not even for a second. Suddenly, what did you just say? A furious voice boomed from the alley's entrance. Before either of them could react, Samuel stormed in, grabbed Colin by the collar, eyes blazing. You're encouraging her to divorce me? Samuel, let him go. The decision to divorce you was mine and mine alone. No one influenced me. Evelyn pried his hand off and yanked Colin away. Samuel looked at her. She had only been gone a few weeks, but it was like she had become a different person. Once plain and modest, Evelyn now looked sharp and radiant. Her leather shoes gleamed in the sun. Her wavy hair cascaded like a movie star's. Her wool coat was clearly expensive. Samuel felt something he'd never felt before, panic. This woman, who used to obey his every word, was slipping away. No, it wasn't that she changed. It was that he had lost control. Evelyn, you're a married woman. You shouldn't dress like that. Evelyn scoffed. Samuel, I've already decided to divorce you. What I wear is none of your business. Samuel's gaze hardened. You want to divorce me? That's your business. But I refuse, and that's mine. Evelyn shook her head in disbelief. Cruel, blind, self-righteous, that was already enough. But now she saw something new. He was delusional. Still, he wouldn't be able to cling for long. He'd be graduating soon, and school would bury him in work. She sighed in relief. Let's go, she said to Colin, turning away. He doesn't have time to waste here. Wait, what? Colin followed, confused. They had barely left the alley when Samuel called after them, eyes gleaming with smugness. Evelyn, you don't need to worry about that. I've already taken a leave of absence from school. Evelyn froze. I even found a job here in El City. The world spun. Barely 3 weeks ago, he'd demanded a divorce. Now, he'd paused school and found a job in El City. He had been handpicked by city leadership for a coveted secretary role. So he gave that up? Evelyn leaned against the wall, barely staying upright. She felt nothing but ice. Samuel would rather give up his golden future, just to destroy hers. What job? Colin asked. Samuel smirked. I have some writing skills. I've joined a newspaper as a reporter. I hear you're a journalist too. Reporter Chan, so you should know better than anyone how important it is to uphold truth and integrity. Colin smiled calmly, nodding in understanding. Chapter 13. What are you laughing at? Samuel was unnerved by Colin's calm grin. Colin's tone was breezy, that same faint smile on his lips. Now that we're colleagues, I'm sure you understand the weight of those words. Samuel clenched his fists. He hadn't expected this Colin to be so sharp-tongued. No, something was wrong. He suddenly turned to Evelyn, eyes blazing. You told him everything? Before Evelyn could respond, Samuel's brows tightened like steel cables. So you're dead set on divorcing me, for him? He pressed closer. Colin stepped forward, shielding Evelyn. Kim, Colin said coldly. Don't slander her. I've only known Kim for less than a month. My admiration is mine alone. Don't you dare drag her into this. Oh, you admire her? Samuel sneered with a laugh, glaring at Evelyn one last time before vanishing down the alley. Evelyn's legs gave out. She slid down the gray wall and collapsed to the ground. Colin reached out to help her, but every time she tried to stand, her knees trembled uncontrollably. She knew Samuel too well. He wouldn't let this go. I'm sorry. I dragged you into this. Her voice shook with fear. She truly felt guilty. Samuel, though a scholar, had a nature as rigid and dangerous as steel. That kind of stubbornness is what got him through 3 grueling years to become the county's top scholar. That kind of ruthlessness is how he gave up everything, just to force her back. He would retaliate. She was sure of it. In the following days, neither Samuel nor Colin appeared. Stranger still, there was an eerie calm. At work, Evelyn kept glancing toward the street. On edge. Comrade, do you have white peach hard candy? A customer's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. She flushed slightly. Sorry. White peach is out of stock. The woman was about 50, visibly anxious. Do you know where I could still find it? Evelyn thought for a moment, then shook her head. White peach was rare, especially this close to the new year. Any batch would sell out instantly. The woman sighed and turned to leave. Wait, Evelyn called. Why do you need white peach specifically? We have other popular flavors you could try. The woman lowered her eyes. There was a shimmer in her lashes. It's for my mother. It's her favorite. She's not well. I don't know if I'll get another chance to bring it to her. Evelyn's heart softened. She pulled out a notebook. Leave me your address. If we get a new batch, I'll send it to your home. The woman took the pen with trembling fingers. Thank you. Thank you so much. After she left, coworker Xiao Wu came over, puzzled. You're taking on delivery now? We work split shifts. You're not tired? Could have just told her to check back. Evelyn looked toward the woman's silhouette. She smelled like disinfectant. Her mother's probably already in the hospital. I'm not busy. I can drop it off. Xiao Wu shook her head in awe. You're really on a different level of thoughtfulness. Evelyn gave a modest smile. Her situation was delicate. She had fought hard for this job, and she wanted to prove herself. After work, Evelyn stayed behind to clean her counter. By the time she left the store, it was past 8 p.m. As she stepped down the steps, she spotted Colin across the street, waving at her. Reporter Chan? Colin crossed over, holding out a large craft envelope. These past few days I've been speaking to the court. The judge said in cases like yours, where coercion is involved, there's a strong chance the court would grant a divorce. That man doesn't deserve you. His nose was red from the wind. Evelyn opened the envelope and found a copy of the marriage law and a thick stack of handwritten notes. She flipped through them. Her eyes welled up. You wrote all this? Colin scratched his head sheepishly. Yeah, the judge dictated. I just wrote it down. Sorry. My handwriting's a bit messy. No, it's beautiful. They walked to the bus stop together. Colin, ever chatty, filled the wait with stories from his courthouse visits. Evelyn listened quietly. When she finally boarded her bus, she leaned out the window, waving the envelope. Thank you. I'll read it carefully. Colin blushed and waved back. On the bus, Evelyn flipped through the marriage law booklet. On the divorce section, she noticed faint pencil lines, words half erased but still legible. The handwriting matched Colin's exactly. She closed the book, holding it tightly in her hands. When she arrived back at her alley, a voice startled her. Evelyn. She turned. Samuel stepped out from behind a lamppost. Come home with me. He held out his hand. Evelyn clutched the envelope, stepping back, eyes wide with fear. What are you doing here? I just came to see Mom. Mom? Evelyn laughed coldly. Her mother hated Samuel. In her eyes, Evelyn had stayed in the countryside because he tricked her. Now that she knew everything Samuel had done, she must have slaughtered him with words. No one in my house wants to see you. Please respect yourself. Evelyn didn't sugarcoat it. Come back with me. Samuel lunged, grabbing her arm. She struggled, the craft envelope falling from her hands. The marriage law book hit the ground. The handwritten materials scattered. Samuel stepped on the booklet and snatched up the papers. At the bottom of the last page, Colin had written, Comrade Evelyn, I hope this helps you. I have selfish hopes too, when you walk out of this darkness. I'll be waiting for you in the light. Colin, you're taking me to court? Samuel's fury exploded. Yes. Evelyn stood firm. Samuel burst out laughing, eyes dark and burning. El City has poisoned you. Your mother's feeding you these ideas, talking about your value and dignity. You're my woman. How dare you come back here without my permission? Evelyn stepped up, trying to grab the documents back. Samuel, you burned all your bridges long ago, and I'm not your woman anymore. In a rage, Samuel ripped the pages to shreds. And that bastard Colin. He stormed closer, flinging the torn papers into the air. Snow hadn't fallen yet this winter, but shreds of her hope rained down like the season's first storm. I won't divorce you. Never. Evelyn fell to her knees, picking up the pieces one by one. Samuel stomped over, kicking wildly, but no matter how much he kicked, Evelyn kept picking up the pieces, tucking them back into the torn envelope. Samuel, she gritted through her teeth. The marriage law says one person can file for divorce. It's not your decision to make. Samuel's eyes narrowed like blades of ice. Anyone who tries to destroy our marriage will pay the price. With that, he stormed off into the dark. Chapter 14. The next day, Evelyn worked the afternoon shift. No sooner had she arrived at the dry goods counter and set down her bag than Xiaowu passed her a message. Manager and wanted to see her. When she knocked and entered the office, several people were already there. Samuel and Colin stood on opposite ends of the room. In the center sat Manager and across from him was a man Evelyn didn't recognize. She was stunned and a little confused. Manager in? Anne's face was stern. This is Editor-in-Chief Han from the L City Daily. He's here today to discuss something regarding reporter Colin Chan. So it's come to this. Evelyn's heart dropped. She had feared Colin would get dragged into this, and now it was happening. This was between her and Samuel. She couldn't allow anyone else to be harmed. Is this your wife? Han asked, pointing at Evelyn as he turned to Samuel. Samuel cast a dark look at Colin before responding. Yes, but my wife refuses to come home. She's been entangled by your reporter, Colin Chan, who's shamelessly inciting her to file for divorce in court. He slapped a sheet of paper onto the desk. Here's the proof. Evelyn's heart twisted. That letter. Of course Samuel had used it. She had dragged Colin into this mess, and it tore her up inside. That's not what happened, she cried, her eyes bloodshot. Editor Han, Colin only helped me out of sympathy. No. Samuel cut in coldly, gripping Evelyn's shoulders and locking eyes with her. He wasn't helping. He was preying on you. A young man pestering a married woman. It's obvious what he wants. He swallowed the rest of his venom, but his glare said enough. He just wants to use you. Han turned to Colin. Reporter Chan, care to explain? Samuel's lips curled into a victorious smirk. You should explain yourself, he said mockingly. You've shown your true colors, coveting another man's wife, with no self-restraint. How can a man like you uphold journalistic integrity? Colin gave Evelyn a faint smile, a calming breeze through a tense room. Manager in. Editor Han, Colin said clearly. I want to reiterate that my feelings for Evelyn are purely admiration. I have never crossed any boundaries, and I welcome any investigation into my conduct. Then he turned, facing Samuel directly. Your accusations are baseless slander. A man like you isn't worthy of Evelyn. Samuel scoffed. This is a marriage issue, and it's none of your business. Han frowned. It didn't seem like Colin had done anything improper. But Evelyn was still legally married. The situation was sensitive. Samuel, Han finally said, trying to defuse things. This may not be as serious as you're making it out to be. As men of letters, we're all drawn to beauty, be it in people or ideals. No need to blow it out of proportion. Samuel's face darkened. Not serious? He encouraged my wife to leave me. If he isn't fired, I won't let this go. He turned to Manager in. As for my wife, I'm officially helping her resign. My father is ill. My mother is old. She needs to come home and care for them. What? Evelyn's eyes widened in disbelief. If Samuel had already crushed her spirit, this act ground it into dust. Resign for her? Her heart dropped into a pit. She would never return to that place. It wasn't home. It was hell. She reached back instinctively, searching for an anchor, but grasped nothing. Her gaze drifted to the window. 6 floors up. Good. She made up her mind. If Samuel forced her to leave today, she would take him with her and jump. Better shattered bones than a shattered life. Slam. Manager and smacked the desk so hard the room buzzed. Samuel. That's enough. Evelyn is the daughter of one of our most respected longtime employees. We know her story well. His voice thundered through the room. You may be top of your class in your county, but in L City, you're nobody. Stop twisting facts. Seeing your face today, I'm the first to support Evelyn's divorce. Han raised an eyebrow and leaned in, sensing there was more. Manager in, seething, explained everything, how Evelyn's mother had nearly cried herself blind from grief. Han's face stiffened. Samuel, your probation at the paper is terminated. You can go. What? Samuel erupted. My trial period is 3 months, I've only been here a few weeks. Han was firm. Journalism requires both skill and character. You may have one, but not the other. You're not fit for our paper. Samuel sneered, refusing to concede. Colin's been here for years. You're close. So of course you defend him. He didn't even graduate from a top school. He must have pulled strings to get in. Han shook his head in disappointment. Clearly, you lack maturity as well. Leave. I don't want to see you at this paper again. The room fell into silence. Han turned to Evelyn. Evelyn, your story is powerful. I'd like to feature it, so we can inspire countless women still trapped in painful marriages. Samuel was stunned. He had been a prodigy since the day he passed the county exam. Now, he'd been expelled before his probation even ended? Before he could recover from the blow, Collins stepped forward. Manager, I've followed Evelyn's situation for some time. May I be assigned this story? Samuel clenched his fists. Editor Han, you said I only have one of the 2 qualities. Which one? He couldn't leave El City. He had to bring Evelyn home. Han's eyes were cold. This paper is the voice of the people. I won't let it be tainted by someone with no moral character. Samuel stumbled, grabbing the wall for support. He pointed a trembling finger to his chest. You're saying I have no character? Han snorted. Seems no one's ever told you that before. Samuel looked lost, like he'd only just realized it. Han softened slightly. This is a new era. Women have the right to choose their own lives. Accusing Colin without proof only insults both yourself and Evelyn. He sighed, gave Colin a few final words, and left. The room stayed quiet for a long time. Samuel stepped toward Evelyn. Colin immediately raised a protective arm. What are you doing? Samuel halted, his posture softening, the gentleman mask back on. He smiled at Evelyn. Evelyn, can you give me another chance? He had never looked at her this way before, so tender, so desperate. If it had been a month ago, maybe she'd have been moved. But now? Too late. Late affection is cheaper than weeds. We have nothing to talk about. We're getting divorced. Evelyn's voice was final. Chapter 15. In the days that followed, Evelyn's life finally quieted down. Colin still came by regularly. In addition to the interviews assigned by Editor-in-Chief Han, he went out of his way to explain legal matters to Evelyn and even began helping her find a lawyer to start the divorce proceedings. Thank you, Reporter Chan, Evelyn said, a bit embarrassed. That report Samuel made about you, it must have caused some serious trouble for you. Colin shook his head with a breezy smile. He's been fired. Everyone now knows right from wrong. A few senior colleagues even encouraged me to take advantage of the moment and he stopped himself, blushing fiercely. I'm sorry, I don't really have the right to say such things right now. Evelyn's expression darkened slightly. Colin understood what she meant. She was trying to protect him. And in that moment, he swore to himself that he would do everything in his power to protect her. He opened his notebook. Well, let's begin the interview then. Evelyn had just started explaining why she had chosen not to return to the city after being sent to the countryside when the office door suddenly burst open. A well-dressed woman in a fine wool coat stormed in. Evelyn, give Samuel back to me. At the sound of Regina's voice, Evelyn shuddered. But times had changed, she no longer needed to suppress her emotions. You're out? Evelyn asked coldly. The customers and staff nearby had quickly caught on. This finely dressed but pale woman didn't seem normal. She might have even broken out of custody. People grew alert and quickly dispersed. Colin instinctively stepped in front of Evelyn to protect her. You framed me and sent me to prison. Regina seethed. But heaven is just, I was released because I'm innocent. You shameless wench. Where are you hiding my man? She went on a tirade until her face flushed from lack of air, leaning on the counter to catch her breath. She hissed. That be *TCH, he gave up his studies because of you, and now he's lost his job in El City too. The store erupted. The other female employees, already jealous of Evelyn for catching the handsome Colin's attention, immediately found an outlet for their resentment. Evelyn's got some skills. Huh? cheating on her husband and seducing a fresh-faced reporter. Classy. Xiaowu shrank timidly and tried to defend her. Evelyn's not like that. But another colleague shot her down. You're too naive. Didn't you hear? She's still married and already tangled with reporter Chan. Seizing the moment, Regina lunged for Evelyn. I'll kill you. Colin blocked her arm with a sharp movement. Back off. His voice was so fierce it startled Regina into retreating half a step. But she still clung tightly to Evelyn. You want to know why I got released? She hissed. Because I'm pregnant with Samuel's child. Of course the police won't arrest a pregnant woman. She glared at Evelyn with venomous glee. I pity you as a woman. 4 years of marriage. And you're still a virgin, aren't you? He never touched you, did he? Unlike me, Samuel and I already have the fruit of our love. Evelyn laughed out loud. She was finally free of Samuel's poisonous orbit, while someone else was still desperately, shamelessly trying to climb into it. So what are you to me now? I'm still married to Samuel, and you're pregnant with his child. Isn't that moral corruption? Regina was speechless. Her family had gone to great lengths to get her released. Citing mental illness, she'd only just returned to school when she learned that Samuel had taken a leave of absence. After tracking him down, she realized the shocking truth. Evelyn wasn't some hick. She was from El City. Samuel gave up a prestigious job as a government secretary for you. She spat. And what are you? For the first time, Regina really looked at Evelyn. She was stunning, tall and slim like a film star from a magazine. No, she couldn't be better than her. Clutching her hair in frustration, Regina cried, Give Samuel back to me. She was losing it. You'll find him in court next week. I've already filed for divorce. He'll have to appear. Evelyn's voice was calm as she turned to Colin. I've already submitted the petition. I'm sorry. I just didn't want to drag you into this mess. Colin's blush faded slightly. His voice steady. You're not dragging me into anything. I'm willing. They exchanged a quiet smile. Regina collapsed to the floor. She couldn't understand how a man as talented and educated as Samuel would let a housewife like Evelyn file for divorce. Even worse, he'd thrown away his future for her. Fine, just wait. She struggled to her feet, cast one last vicious glare at Evelyn, and stormed out of the store. But trouble, as they say, never comes alone. The next day, manager called Evelyn into the office. The incident had caused a public relations nightmare. Several customers had written letters demanding that Evelyn be dismissed. Evelyn, the public pressure is intense. Manager said with a pained expression. I know this isn't your fault, but public opinion can be terrifying. We're a business. After all, Evelyn's guilt surged. Her messy past with Samuel had already affected too many people. She never imagined it would now threaten the store's operations too. I'm sorry, Uncle N. I'll resign. Manager quickly waved his hands. You misunderstood. I'm not trying to fire you. I just want you to take a short break. His eyes were red. He'd watched Evelyn grow up. She was a good kid. And life had been cruel to her. How could he bear to hurt her when she needed support the most? Uncle N. Don't worry. I've got other options. Really. Chapter 16. And manager knew Kim's family situation all too well. Kim's father had passed away early, leaving her mother to raise Evelyn alone. Because of Evelyn's recent troubles, her mother had cried until her vision deteriorated and her health declined further. Her own illness had already drained her pension, and Evelyn's income from the department store was supporting the entire household. Now Evelyn was about to resign. What would happen to the Kim family? Evelyn, where will you go? And manager asked. Just days before, the store had received a shipment of white peach-flavored candies. Evelyn, keeping a promise she'd made, had packaged them into small portions and delivered them to the address left by a customer. When she knocked on the woman's door, the woman rushed out, then broke down in tears when she saw Evelyn. She pulled Evelyn straight to the hospital. Her mother, on her deathbed, had gotten to taste her beloved candy one last time. Her name is Liang Yu. She's the owner of HS Trading and just returned from overseas. Evelyn blushed a little. She invited me to be her secretary. I don't know anything yet, but she's giving me time to learn. And manager clapped his hands in delight. Evelyn, this is karma repaying kindness. It's a stroke of fortune. I've heard of HS Trading. It's one of the city's key joint ventures. Her inviting you proves she sees your worth. He let out a long breath. Genuinely happy for the Kim family. That's wonderful. I can rest easy now. That very day, Evelyn completed her resignation. As she left the department store, her heart ached. This place had carried her mother's half a lifetime of memories, and had been her own refuge when she first returned to the city. Lost and helpless, walking home, Evelyn couldn't help but cry. Evelyn. At the bus stop, she realized Samuel had been following her. I'm sorry, he said, lowering his once proud head. I heard what happened at the store with Regina. It's all my fault. I'm sorry you lost your job because of me. Was the sun rising in the west? Evelyn glanced at him with scorn. Are you here to gloat? Or are you hoping I'll go back home with you? Samuel's face flushed. In front of Evelyn, he could no longer lift his head. He shook it, and tears slid down his cheeks. I know you're hurting. I just wanted to see you, to find out if there's anything I can do to make you feel better. But once Evelyn had stepped away from the store, her emotions shifted. There was no heartbreak, only a touch of regret. Just like leaving Samuel had allowed her to meet Colin, leaving the store was leading her to a much wider world. Yet with Samuel, there was one final matter left to settle. If I can get the divorce certificate, I'll feel much better. Samuel clenched his jaw. They stood in silence under the cold wind. As the No. 1 bus approached, he finally relented. Fine, I'll do it. Half a year later, Samuel completed his studies. He didn't stay on in the provincial capital as a government secretary. Instead, he made countless calls to El City, seeking any opportunity to stay there. Before summer break, he succeeded. Samuel secured a job at the local television station. But before he could leave, Regina blocked him at the dormitory. She'd been expelled from school for 6 months already. In those 6 months, she did nothing, just wandered the campus, stalking Samuel. Where are you going? Regina charged into his arms, wide-eyed. She knew how to look at Samuel to melt his heart. Take me with you, wherever you're going. Samuel grabbed her arm and shoved her aside. Get lost. I never want to see you again. Regina clung to him like a leech. Samuel, how can you say that? I don't even mind that you didn't get the secretary job. Haven't I been good to you? Samuel nearly coughed up blood. If it weren't for that secretary position, Regina never would have schemed to wreck his marriage. He hated those words now more than anything. He took a deep breath. No need to argue with someone unwell. Leave. He said it quietly. Suddenly, Regina seemed to snap, clawing at Samuel's belt. You're just trying to dump me now. But remember, we've slept together. If you abandon me, I'll report you to the police. Her shamelessness made her no different from a gutter brawler. Samuel wished he could gouge out his own eyes. He must have been blind to once think this woman was refined. Go ahead and report me. I've already lost Evelyn. I don't care where I end up. Bad idea. Just hearing Evelyn's name triggered Regina like a switch. She burst out laughing, clutching her stomach, unable to stand up straight. Samuel, are you serious? You really loved Evelyn? Samuel's eyes darkened. He grabbed Regina by the throat, pinning her against the wall. If it weren't for you, she wouldn't have left me. You never had good intentions from the start. Regina laughed through clenched teeth, her face turning purple. No good intentions? And yet you fell for me. Don't forget, you were the one who first brought up divorce with her. She fluttered her lashes, reaching for his face. Let's just be together. Don't make me hurt you. I love her. She's my everything. Samuel's scream echoed through the dormitory. He felt like all the blood had drained from his body. He was just a shell now. She's my life. Stop lying to yourself. Regina stepped forward again. You don't love her. You love me. We have so many beautiful memories together. Samuel stepped back in disgust. Don't kid yourself. I'd rather die than be with you. He flung his bag over his shoulder and stormed out without looking back. As he passed under the moon gate of the dormitory courtyard, a commotion broke out. Someone's trying to jump. The crowd grew louder. Samuel! Regina's scream rang out. But Samuel didn't stop. He walked out of the school gates with a cold face. He never found out whether Regina actually jumped. After arriving in El City, he buried himself in his new job at the TV station, so much that he nearly forgot who he was. Until one day, in the editing room, while watching a colleague cut footage, He saw Evelyn. She looked stunning, radiant, like the sun. "What's this interview for?" he asked, clutching his cup of instant noodles, hiding his face behind the steam so no one would see the redness in his eyes. "She's the executive assistant at HS Trading. Bit of a legend," the editor said. "She used to be a sent-down youth, worked the fields, even married once. No formal education, but the lady boss of HS Trading saw something in her. She's hardworking and eager to learn. Now she can manage whole projects herself. She even oversaw the launch of the East District's biggest mall. That place is on fire." Samuel sipped the last of the broth. It tasted bitter. He glanced at the tape label. "Women hold up half the sky." She really does live up to those words. And Samuel's heart felt like it had been hollowed out. He realized Evelyn was further from him than ever. Chapter 17. Just as Samuel summoned all his courage to stake out the entrance of HS Trading, he heard news that shattered him completely. Today, the entire HS Trading staff was on holiday, gathered at the QJ Grand Hotel for a banquet. Evelyn, the executive assistant, and Chan the journalist, were holding a grand wedding. It was HS Trading's biggest event of the year. Samuel hid at the very back of the crowd, watching Evelyn on stage. She wore a pure white wedding dress, one hand holding Colin's, the other holding Kim Mama's. Their radiant smiles touched every heart in attendance. Samuel clenched his jaw so tightly he heard the faint crack of enamel. His chest heaved with restraint. Deep in his heart, he made a vow. "Evelyn, I won't bother you again." In just 1 year, Evelyn had become a completely different person. Confident, graceful, composed. She stood before a large audience without even blushing. Samuel's vision blurred. For a moment, he saw Evelyn from 5 years ago, scythe in hand, drenched in sweat, her figure moving freely through the wheat fields. "Samuel, am I impressive?" She waved the scythe playfully. "All of this, I did it myself." Samuel could no longer recall what he had said in response. But the sunlight from that afternoon, golden as foil, still shimmered in his memory, reflected on her cheeks. They had once been happy, but that happiness he had shattered with his own hands. On stage, Colin's voice rang out. "I won't make grand promises. Let my actions speak for me." The banquet hall erupted into thunderous applause. Samuel turned and walked out. If he stayed any longer, he feared he would drown in his own remorse. Across the street from the QJ Grand Hotel, he found a small eatery. He downed an entire case of beer. In a daze, he felt as if he were dreaming. Evelyn was suddenly seated across from him. "Evelyn, don't worry." He cradled a bottle and grinned foolishly. "I won't hurt you again, not in this life. If Colin ever wrongs you, I'll make him pay. I swear it." Samuel, swear." Evelyn gave him a soft smile, then turned and walked away. Who knows how much time passed. A sharp ray of sunlight pierced his eyes, forcing them open. In a haze, he caught sight of Evelyn and Colin, hand in hand, smiling as they disappeared down the road beside the QJ Grand Hotel. Her beautiful life had begun, and his entire future had been buried long ago, in that golden field of wheat. Tears blurred his vision. "Evelyn, be happy," Samuel murmured.